literally every year at a minimum, rewriting a new 5-year story, because a year from now, I have more data. I have more past story that can help me, that can weaponize me really to get to my future. See, sometimes we look at our past and we only see the bad things that are going to prohibit our future. I try to frame it as, man, what are these experiences that I've had? And if they're failures, if they're struggles, just like, how are those things going to actually, once again, the frame I put around it, how are those going to actually now propel me to this new version?
What is up, everyone? This is Scorch the Fears. Today we got Tyler Deveraux. I don't know how to say your last name, actually. I looked at it and I'm not sure how you say it.
Hey, man, it throws you curveballs with that X. It's Deveraux.
Deveraux. Yeah. We got Tyler Deveraux, a multifamily genius. I've been watching his content for a while, and I really wanted him to come on the podcast. We're going to talk a lot about getting over fears about getting into multifamily, right? And a lot of this, some of this will be personal. You actually asked me right before the podcast, what can you do for my audience and for me? For me, it'll be interesting of, I'm about to start getting out of single family and more into multifamily. So we'll be talking about that too. Didn't mention that beforehand. So it'll be good. If you're on Instagram, come on to YouTube. If you actually want to hear my guest, Tyler, he's awesome. He's a great guy. He's got a ton of value to give us all. So come on to YouTube if you actually want to see the show. So cool, man. Thank you for being here. Welcome to Scorch the Fears.
Dude, thank you, Jonah. Appreciate you having me here. And I love the name, Scorch the Fears. It's freaking sexy, bro. And it's critical.
I love it. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So real quick, just introduce yourself to my audience, just like what you do exactly in multifamily, what you specialize in, what you've been doing. Just a real quick background on what you've been doing in real estate.
So Tyler Deveraux, and I'm the CEO and managing partner of the Multifamily Capital Partners. That's our investment company. We own, just shy of 4,000 units, right around 400 million something in assets. And I'm also the CEO of and co-founder of a company called the Multifamily Mindset. That's an education company where we teach people how to buy apartment buildings. And, if you ask me what I do, I'd tell you that I help people attack their doubts and overcome their fears. That's why I love the name of your podcast, man. I have been investing in multifamily since, about the past 8 years or so, 2015-ish, right around there. And it's been a game changer for my family and I, and it's been a game changer because of the scalability behind it, the passive income from it. But I would tell you the biggest reason that I believe it's been a game changer for my family and I is because it's something that I used to view as impossible. And I found a way to make it possible. And when you view something as impossible and then you find ways to make it possible, dude, it changes you mentally. It's what else in here is false? What else can I do? And that's a game changer for you in any avenue, in any direction in your life. So that's what I do.
I love it. I love it so much. I think you're gonna be a great guest for this. I can already tell. I think you've got
100%. This is gonna be golden for whoever's listening. I'm about to drop some fucking nuggets in your ear. Just wait, man. Turn up the volume. Get ready.
Let's do it. So the first question I always ask everyone is, especially with multifamily, because I'm curious, did you start with single family or did you go straight into multifamily?
Yeah. No, I started with single family. But I wouldn't even have called myself a true single family investor. I started a web business, made some money, web design, web hosting, made a little bit of money. People told me I should buy some real estate. So what do you buy? You buy what you know you can buy, which is a single family property, rented it out. That's what I did. I flipped some properties, wholesale some deals. But so yeah, started with single family. Yep.
Okay. So let's start with, I'm just going to start from the very, very beginning with this question. And then I'm going to ask the question again, but in relation to multifamily, which is when you were just starting out in a state, like your very first, before you even did a single family deal, what were your fears and how'd you overcome them?
Lots of fears, bro. I grew up in lower middle class. I have amazing family, amazing parents, lots of love. But I didn't know anybody who had truly acquired real wealth. And I had seen a lot of financial struggle. My mom's a single mom. She raised 4 kids on her own. And I love her. And I'm so grateful for how she tackled all of that. all of that. And my biggest fear was, so there's experiences growing up where I saw my mom who needed help and I wasn't in a position to help her. And I never wanted to be in that position again. And my biggest fear was that I would not reach a level of financial success that would allow me to be that person to change the financial narrative for my family. Because I believe that it is my role, my responsibility to change the financial narrative for my family. I've believed that from a young age, dude, since I was 16. And so my biggest fear is that I wouldn't, because I didn't know how to achieve that. So it's how I know that it's my role. I know that it's my duty. I know it's my job. But how? Those are my biggest fears.
Gotcha. And then, so how'd you overcome that? So were you just, you seem kind of a Nike, let's just do it type of guy, right? I definitely get that vibe from you. And sometimes it's just that, but what's great about that fear, I'm going to talk about this because I think people need a little bit of a lesson on the types of fears. Yeah, that's a fear that's behind you, that's a fear that's pushing you forward instead of a fear that's in front of you, stopping you. Right? Because that fear, the fear of not being able to help your parents out, that's one of my fears that still pushes me, right? I help my parents out, but not nearly as much as I want to be, right? So that fear pushes you forward to using it. So I'm curious for you, do you consciously think about things like that, your fears? Have you thought about being more afraid of things that'll push you forward versus being more afraid of things, I don't know, talking to a seller or buying 1,000 apartment complex? Do you consciously think about that, or is that something that's just more naturally that comes to you?
Yeah, what a great question, man. And what a great way to frame that. What a great way to position that and view that. There's fears that block you and fears that push you. And I believe that, I mean, you're right, dude, that fear pushes me. And what's cool about that fear that pushes me is it's a fear that never goes away, I don't believe. Because even though I want success drives me, right? Money drives me. But dude, honestly, that alone wouldn't continue to make me go down the path. What drives me more than anything is looking back and being like, man, I never want to be in that position again, ever. I never want to be in that position again. And also, once again, it's my role, my responsibility. I live out here in Maui, and there's this word called kuleana, which is take responsibility. And I love that word because that's how I believe. That's just what I believe in. I believe it is my responsibility. I will take responsibility to change the financial narrative. But the story that I tell myself, by the way, the stories that you tell yourself are so powerful, powerfully negative or powerfully positive. And the story that I tell myself is that if I don't continue pushing and growing and reaching these new levels of success and unlocking these new levels of success, then I will hinder the growth of people that I love, man, because they're looking to me to be like, hey, man, they're looking to me. Whether they are or not, that's the story that I tell myself. And I know that they are, and I've seen that narrative change for myself. I've seen that narrative change for them. And it pushes me. So here's what happens. These struggles, to come full circle back to your question, these struggles that come, these fears that come, they're still there, man. At every freaking turn, they're there. Every day, they're there. These things that just challenge you mentally, they're there. But I look at those a different way, man. I look at those as a way of, okay, this is my next way to level up. Because when I overcome this fear, when I overcome this challenge, when I overcome this thing, whatever that thing is, that allows me to level up so that I can help other people do the exact same thing. Because the minute that I stop growing, the minute that I stop leveling up is the minute that I lose my ability to help other people do the same thing. And that drives me more than any financial success will drive me. But by leveling up, by growing, by consistently helping people do the same thing, dude, financial success is a byproduct of that.
I love that. So let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about the stories that we tell ourselves, right? Because I think that's a really good way of putting it, because fear never fully goes away. I've learned this. I have some financial success, and I remember when I was broke, I was like, man, if I can just make it where I get 10 grand a month to myself, I'm set for life, bro. I'm good. Yep. And now that I've got way more than that, that is not even close to enough money. So I want to just talk about a little bit about the stories we tell ourselves. How do you change that story so that it's productive, right? I mean, there's stories that have been told to us since we were children that are very negative, just whatever it might be. I don't know. One of mine was the story that I told myself was money is the root of all evil. It wasn't told to myself, that was told to me, right? But how do you change these preset stories to be the story that you want it to be?
One is you have to believe that you're in charge of the story that you tell yourself, right? Meaning you're actually in charge of the frame that you put around any situation. So if you believe that you're in charge of how you narrate the story, then you also believe that you're in charge of, man, the story that you're creating. So at any given point, any given situation, anything that you're going through, is this story, is this frame, I call it a frame, but is this frame that I put around this situation, the story, right, that I'm telling about this situation, is it serving? Is it serving? And if it's not serving, then what story could I tell to make this situation serving? So, for example, the story that I used to tell myself is that I was in the position that I was in because of my past, because of all this shit that's happened to me, right? The struggles, the things I didn't have, all these advantages. I didn't have these connections. I didn't have the things I didn't have, dude. So the story was based on, because of the things that I didn't have, comparing myself to things that other people did have. That's why I'm here. And what shifted for me was when I started telling the story of, man, because of these things, that's going to propel me to these things in the future. It's literally just a reframe. I remember one of my favorite books is called The Alchemist. And in The Alchemist, it depicts this shepherd in Spain, and he decides to go on pursuit of what he calls his personal legend. He sells all of his sheep, and I won't tell you the whole book, but if you haven't read the book, you should go read the book. But just this first part, he sells all of his sheep, crosses over into Africa, and day one, all of his money gets stolen. All of his money. So he's in this city square, everyone's gone, he's in a foreign country, doesn't know the language, no money. And he says, I can either view myself as a poor victim of a thief or as an adventurer looking for his treasure. See, both of those are true. Both of those perspectives, stories, whatever you want to call it, are true. So which one do you choose? You choose the one that is serving to the direction you want to go. What most people do is they get stuck in the story that is not serving, but they do that because of belief. They don't believe that they can truly change the narrative of their story, or they do believe that they can, but they don't know if they're dedicated to putting in the work that it takes to changing the narrative of their life. And so what will help people push forward to tell a better story, to get a better result, is to have a better, more deep-rooted why. What is pushing you, dude? Once again, we talked about sometimes it can be fear. See, I believe that one of the mistakes that a lot of people make is they create this why on something that they want. But I want to be very clear, it's hard for people to really put emotion behind it because they're trying to base their why off of something that they want, but they've never experienced it. And they haven't even let their mind, this is gold for all you guys out there. Just take some freaking notes right now, because this was a game changer for me. They put this why on something that they want, but they've never experienced it. So they can't truly have this deep-rooted emotion behind it. Well, most of my whys are actually based off of something that I hate. Things that I've experienced personally that I hate. My dad being gone as a kid. You know, my mom was a single mom, and yes, we had financial struggle, but my biggest thing is I just missed my freaking dad. I hated that. So that hate created a why that I want to be there for everything that my kids do, so that they never have to experience that, and I never have to experience the regret that I see my dad live with. I hated that, and that hate has created this deep-rooted why that I can experience, that I have an emotion behind it, and that pushes me forward.
So financial struggle. Hold on. Let me interrupt you. I'm sorry, because I'm really curious about this now. I'm taking notes. I'm also taking notes. So why do you choose something that you hate versus necessarily something that's positive? Is there a reason you're choosing something negative versus positive? I'm just curious.
Because it's emotion. I believe emotion needs to be attached behind your why. And don't get me wrong, I don't just focus on the hate. I focus on what is the opposite of the hate. What is the opposite of this thing that I hate? But you said pushing, right? That the thing that I hate, the thing that I despise, the situation that I despise, whatever it is, it pushes me towards the thing that I want. But the thing that I want is really always it's always in the distance, because I'm not just going to reach a level and just, sweet, I'm good. You said you reach a level, and what you realize is that the real joy comes from unlocking new levels. A gamifier, right? Every level is a new unlock. But the fear, right? Scorch the fears. The fear is that thing that I hate. I never want to experience it. I never want to be there. I never want to put my family in that situation. And so that fear pushes me as far away from the thing that I hate as possible. And what that also does is unlock gratitude. Because as I unlock these new levels, I am so fucking grateful because I'm farther and farther away from this thing that I despise. And gratitude is the strongest emotion in the world. And will get you to a lot of things that, once again, you never thought were possible.
I love it. So let's see if you and I can go through kind of let's pretend I'm a newbie, right? And I'm just doing this. What is a step? That is amazing. But what do I do? Where do I even start with figuring out my why? Do you feel you could you have a step-by-step that you could give someone that's okay? First, start with your why, then use that why. Now create this story. Do you have any process that you feel you could share with us of like, all right, you're new. Let's start here.
Yeah, bro. Yes. So first, you said something that's very critical, which is one of the things that I did that was massive for me was I literally wrote out my story. Like I wrote out my story. Somebody was going to be meeting me or learning about me for the first time, and so I wrote out just the story of my life, dude, and up to this given point, okay. And things that I've experienced, challenges that I've experienced. And so I think that people just identifying those challenges, and they don't even have to be challenges. They can be things that were great, things that you experience. For example, I wrote out this story, and part of that story was my mom being a single mom and the challenges that came financially, emotionally from all of that. But one of the biggest key aspects of that for me was how my mom handled it. I remember my mom telling me at one point that when everything was fresh, brand new, right, and all this is on her shoulders, she said something along the lines of some days it was so daunting for her, so overwhelming, the thought of just even getting out of bed was a lot. But my mom knew that if she just put one foot in front of the other, this is her telling me this, one foot in front of the other, that she would get through it. And she said, so when I couldn't do it for myself, I did it for my kids. That was her why. Right? The story she told herself was that if we saw her giving up, we would give up. And so I identified this story and identified key components of my life that were really important. And I think everyone should do that. Sometimes we almost want to block it out. By truly uncovering it, God, it was awesome for me. And then get me to the present point, right? I identify things that I would like to change, but then I forecast into the future. It's okay. It's not what should I do? It's how do I want to live? What do I want to experience? What does that look, dude? So forecast into the future and what do I want to experience? And then I told a different story. That different story is, okay, if I want to own a bunch of real estate, if I want to have all this passive income, if I want to be able to have time with my family, if I want to moving to Hawaii was a goal of my wife and I's for a freaking long time. And there was a time that I thought this was impossible. So what I did is I told a story and I painted that picture out 5 years, 10 years. Usually I'll do the story 5 years out, but I'll tell the story. I've already achieved it. And I'm telling the story, being in this position 5 years down the road and telling the story of how I achieved it. Man, this is where I was, and this is what happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. And I'll actually record that story, so to type it all out, I'll record myself telling that story, and then I'll re-listen to that story a bunch, dude. A bunch. Until it becomes, dude, I know the path to get there. And then I act, that future version would act right now. Whatever that future version would do, I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to act like that right now.
I love that so much. So you literally write it out, like put it pen to paper, and then you read it aloud. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you do this once? How often do you do this? Is this just a one-time thing and then you're good to go? Or I'm just curious, do you re-up on it, or how does that work?
See, this is how I know, Jonah, that you actually understand the process of growth and that you've went through the process of growth, because you asked that question, but you already know the answer to the question, which is you're always upping it. Because when you forecast that out and you truly act like your future self now, There's actually a book called Be Your Future Self Now, which I love too. But it's when you do that, you achieve those things so much quicker than you thought you would achieve them. And so I'm always, literally every year at a minimum, rewriting a new 5-year story, because a year from now, I have more data. I have more past story that can help me, that can weaponize me really to get to my future. See, sometimes we look at our past and we only see the bad things that are going to prohibit our future. I try to frame it as, man, what are these experiences that I've had? And if they're failures, if they're struggles, it's like, how are those things going to actually, once again, the frame I put around it, how are those going to actually now propel me to this new version? So every year we should be changing, our views should be growing, our progress should be more than we thought that it was going to be. And then I need to tell a new story based on the knowledge and the data that I have right now. So all the time.
I love it so much. I love it when I learn something new, man. That was cool because usually in my audience learns something new, but every once in a while I learn something new. I'm going to do that probably this weekend, or I'm going to try to do that this weekend. So
sweet.
I'll let you
share
know
it with me, bro.
Yeah,
I was just going to say,
I'll
share it
let
with
you
me.
know. I'll let you know how it goes once it's done.
Yeah.
It'll be a good time. Do you incorporate, because we were also talking about the why. So that makes sense in my head of how do you change your story? You literally write out a new story, right?
That's it.
Totally logically makes sense. Next part, you were talking about your why and how you use your why, right? Is that in the same story process? Is that a different process? I'm just curious because I've had people come to me. They tell me whys, but your why is kind of dumb. You're not gonna make it with that why. The Ferrari is not gonna be it, dude. That's not gonna get you through the hump, right? So let's talk about that a little bit. Do you have any ideas?
Yeah.
Did that just come to you through the same storytelling method, or did you figure out your why in a different way? How does one figure out their why and use it to motivate them?
Yeah, I think that what's interesting is the whole Ferrari thing, right? It can actually push people to a certain point and then it'll expand past. But there's a deep rooted reason that if I'm trying to find more and more out about myself and just be honest with myself all the time. So if that why is a Ferrari as an example, but why? What drives me? Is there somebody that I want to be? You told you I'd get there.
Right.
You know,
Right.
maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But I'll tell you, those things can drive you to a certain point. But your question is, how do I determine my why? And I really do, bro. I look back at things that, once again, I know that it might be, this might sound morbid, okay? But I contemplate my death all the time. I think about it all the time. And once again, money, success, that stuff drives me. And dude, I want to be super well known. I want millions and millions of people. I want to be a household name. Some people will hear that and be like, man, that's conceited. Cool. Whatever you will think. But I'll be honest with you. I know that about myself. And I know that that's actually something that I desire. But why do I desire it? That's a question that I've had to do some big, deep internal reflection about. Why do I want that? Why do I want that? And in reality, it's because I want my kids. When I pass away, the story that I want my kids and, people, not just my kids, but people that tell at my funerals, dude, that dude changed my life. That dude had an impact on my life. And I want my kids to be, man, my dad did some shit. My dad scorched the fucking fears and went after it. He failed a bunch, he fell on his face, but every time he fell on his face, that's not the story. It's what I did after I fell on my face. Because, dude, I fell on my face all the time. But, man, when my dad would fall, he would always get back up. And because of that, dude, that changed my life. I seen him do that time and time and time again, changed my life, because I know that as I'm falling, as I'm slipping, as I'm doing, I can always get back up. Like, that changed my life. That's why that motivates me, because true impact is really, leadership is nothing more than just impact. And impact is, dude, helping people to move in a certain direction, right? It's influence. It's moving in a certain direction. And so if I can do that within my family, that's massive. If I can do that within my company, well, that's massive. If I can do that throughout the country, well, shit, that's even more massive. That's why I want to be a household name. And so I look back at those things and what is it that I truly want and why do I want it? Truly, what do I, and be honest with yourself. Very few people would tell you, yeah, man, I want to be freaking famous. I want to be a household name.
Right.
But I'm telling you that because I know why. And by just admitting it, I can identify why. And that propels me, bro.
I love it. I love it so much. I 100% agree. I mean, I definitely, honestly, I probably have some mindset stuff of being a household name. At least I haven't thought of it that way, but I definitely want to be on more stages and I definitely want to be eventually starting my own community of helping people out. Just because even with my social media, I don't have an insane amount of following. I've got 7K or no, 6.3K Instagram and I got 1.3 on here, but I'm growing it. But even just with this small audience, I've been able to help so many people do their first deals, get 10, 15, 20K through wholesaling, through flipping, through all sorts of stuff. So it's addicting, man. I get it. It gets addicting helping people, especially getting their first deal or things that. And I think you were about to hit on this. I also think about my death all the time. One of mine is like, how many people are going to be at my funeral? That's one that I think about. Is it going to be what I want it to be, which is thousands of people, right? I impacted that many people. And it's the same thing. It's how many people could you help? How great could you become, right? And both of us, for anyone that's watching, anyone can do it. There's nothing special about me or Tyler. Tyler's a great guy, right? I just met him, but there's nothing special other than the floating shoes behind him. I don't know how he does that. You know?
That's just special. Amen.
I kind of want to buy that now. That looks really sick. But there's nothing special about me or Tyler, right? It's not a genetic thing. I really want people to know that we all are able to do great things in our lives, no matter what. It's nothing special about me, nothing special about Tyler. So my next question to you is, because that's a big goal. That's a big step to even say, yeah, I want to be a household name. How did you overcome? Because I bet at one point you had that thought and you were, that sounds conceited or that's too much. I don't know if I can do that. How do you feel you start changing that, getting over that particular one, being, no, I want to be a household name. I want to be known everywhere.
Yeah. How do I overcome that initial feeling of that's conceited? Is that
like I'm not worthy, or I'm not worthy, or that I'm being conceited, whatever. The kind of, we're talking about the specific fear of why is Tyler good enough, or why is Jonah good enough? Why is anybody good enough for that? You know?
Let me tell you how I overcame it, bro. Well, you don't overcome it, first off, because at every single level, there's new unlocks, right? I know how to get to where I'm at today because I've done it, but I don't know how to get to where I'm going because I've never done it. And so at every single level, there's these doubts, there's these fears, there's the new ones, new doubts, new fears that you got to scourge, right? New. One of the biggest, when I decided to create the community that I have, and bro, you should absolutely do that, by the way. I think it should be a goal for everyone because it is so challenging, man. It's so challenging because you can't please everybody. You just can't please everybody. You have people that you will. It's crazy, the roller coaster, because I'll have people that will say, I just got the thank you card in the mail today, and I'll have all these thank you cards, these conversations that are amazing, but then you get these couple people that are just like dicks. But do you know what that does, man? It's actually the people that are giving you the shit, man. Really, that's feedback. That's actually where you can find the most room for improvement. Those people have given me my best ideas for growth. Those people have helped me improve. And so there was a time when I was going to creating the investment company. It was a mental stumbling block, right? Can I do this? But still, I feel like I was so ignorant in the fact that it was just, I have to. Literally, I have to. Not because I want to help other people. I would love to help other people, but I needed to help myself first. I needed to put myself in a position to actually even be able to help other people. But then I got to this position where I was going to create the education company. And those doubts were massive. Those fears were massive at that point because who am I? Who am I to do that? Because who am I comparing myself to? I'm comparing myself to people that are way farther ahead than me. And I'm comparing myself to them, and you can't. You have to look backwards as how far you've come. And what's been super humbling for me to recognize and understand is that I will connect with people and I will be able to inspire people that other people will not be able to connect with and inspire. But those individuals are going to be able to connect with. So many of the people that I've taught have been able to connect with and inspire people that I would have never been able to connect with for whatever reason that is. They have that unique ability. So who am I? Well, I am me. And I believe that God has placed me here. And I believe that I have an ability to be an instrument in his hands, to be a blessing in the lives of everyone I come in contact with, because I'm coming in contact with them for a reason. And the unlock was this for me. When I went to start the education company, it was a big deal. I invited a couple people over, a couple guys over from my church to say a prayer. And in that prayer, there's a huge unlock for me, man. In that prayer, they said, whatever, because I'm trying to determine should I or should I not do it. Mm-hmm. And in that prayer, they said, whatever decision you make will be the right decision. And I remember, they leave and I shut the door or whatever. I'm like, what the fuck, man? You're supposed to tell me what decision to make, right? Right? That's why you're supposed to come over here. But then thinking about that evening, I was, man, it's actually beautiful. God doesn't make our decisions for us. I think in fact, I believe it's one of the biggest blessings that we have is the ability to make a decision. God doesn't make our decisions for us. It's one of the biggest blessings we have is the ability to make decisions. And how and why do I believe that? Because the devil's greatest tools, the adversary's greatest tools are all designed to stop us from making decisions. Doubt, fear, uncertainty, distraction, all of those are designed to help us, to stop us from making decisions. So I believe fear is projecting the worst case scenario into the future, and faith is projecting best case. But I also believe that we become worthy of inspiration, not from praying, but we become worthy of inspiration by actually showing enough faith to make a decision to then show that we're actually worthy of the inspiration that we desire. So if we don't have enough faith to take steps and take action and just trust that life is happening because of us and the decisions that we're making, and that God can continue to help us pivot, well, then we're not worthy of inspiration, right? But the minute we do that, now we become worthy of inspiration to continue to pivot, grow, and move. And so I can't even remember what your initial question was, okay, but hopefully that answered it.
No, it did. It's fine. I was mesmerized, dude. You're a great talker. What can my community do for you? Is there anything you want to promote right now? Obviously, follow you on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all that
stuff. Hit me up on Instagram. But dude, here's how: share the podcast. Share Jonah's podcast. If you're listening to this and you haven't subscribed, you haven't shared episodes of his, you're not commenting on his post. If you're not, that's how he gets up in the algorithm so that more people see this kind of stuff. So, dude, if you found value, sure, hit me up on IG. But dude, share the episode. Leave a review for Jonah on his podcast. Go and once again share it so people can once again follow him and have the value that he can uniquely offer to everyone that comes through. So that's how. Go share, rate, review everything that you're doing, bro. That's how.
I love it, man. You're taking my job right now. I'm supposed to do that right after that. But I'm going to leave it at that because you already hit it. But yes, guys, if you're enjoying this, comment, subscribe. Definitely follow Tyler. I love his content. It's super cool. I also want to say this. I mean this. There are a lot of people who come on here. Very rarely do I have it where it's, man, I'm learning stuff now. And also, I feel a lot of times I'm having to pull teeth to get these types of conversations out. The fact that you were able to hit it immediately, that's a good skill. So I just want you to know that's really rare. I've interviewed 92 people, all sorts of people, Clint Clothier, Pace Morby, Jamil. I could name names. Lots of people. Very few people are able to just out the gate hit it with value related to scorching the fears. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate you, Jonah. Thank you so much, man.
All right, guys, we'll be back to our regular time next week, 5 p.m. PST Thursday. Scorch the fears. Let's freaking go.